What's happening, guys? It's Jeremy Blanton with Remax Southern Shores, and today I wanted to come back and bring you a subject that I think is one that's super important to anyone who is considering a move to the Myrtle Beach area. Many of us think we're moving to Myrtle Beach. It's going to be sunshine, rainbows, and just an amazing time living here at the beach. But there are a lot of people regretting their move and where they ended up picking as a place to live when they get here. So I'm hoping that today, with the 5 things I'm about to share with you, it's going to help you to make a better informed decision when moving to the beach so that you're not regretting your move to Myrtle Beach. So without further ado, let's jump into this list and let's discuss some of these items and get into a little bit of detail to hopefully help your decision of moving to Myrtle Beach be much better. All right, so the first thing on our list that we're going to discuss is living in Myrtle Beach. It's simply not a vacation. Many people visit the area on vacation growing up and for 10, 15, 20 years, and they're used to coming down to Myrtle Beach, spending their days on the sand, living there, looking at the ocean, taking in all the waves, and then at night going to Broadway at the beach or to Barefoot Landing and checking out all the tourism spots. And they say they're pretty familiar with the area. They know the golf courses. They know where all the fun things are to do. And so they live that way for 10, 15 years and then decide, you know what, I'm ready now to move to the beach. And when they move here, they think they're going to have that same lifestyle. Well, unfortunately, that just isn't the case. Number one, when you're living here, you still have to do day-to-day things for life. You're going to have to maybe go to a job. You're going to have to still go grocery shopping, do the laundry, cut the yard, all that fun stuff that's not going to give you the ability to just sit on the beach all day long. So a lot of people that are moving to the area think right away, I want to live within walking distance to the beach, that I can walk out my front door and straight down to the beach and get there. Well, there are some people who like that and actually end up doing it and love having that lifestyle. But for most of us, that's not going to be the case. I lived, and I've spoken about this before, I lived for a full year, 1,000 yards from the ocean. I thought when we moved there, it was going to be one of the best years of our life, living that close to the beach, being able to walk down to the beach anytime we wanted to, do whatever we wanted, and have that such close access, just being amazing. Well, the reality was that while we lived there, it was probably one of the least peaceful years of our lives. We were 1,000 yards from the ocean, which means we were also right in the center of all of the tourism stuff that takes place in the Myrtle Beach area. That meant that at 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 2 in the morning, sirens running up and down 17 and waking us up. We would see flashing lights in our windows, and it was just constant noise and sound taking place all over the place, which made it really, really difficult to really ever have a peaceful, relaxing time. In addition to that, it was just hard to get out and go anywhere. I lived in a neighborhood also that was a private community, had a private beach access called Briarcliff Acres. When we first moved to the area, that's where my parents bought our first home. And when we moved into there, I thought, well, this is going to be amazing. We bought the golf cart and we would drive it down to the beach and pull into the private cabana and do that. But the frustration is every time we wanted to leave our community to go anywhere, we had to go through horrific traffic to get around, and it was very stressful. So to get out of my neighborhood, if I wanted to make a left-hand turn, I'd have to drive 15 minutes through the entire neighborhood to go out at the stoplight just to be able to make a left turn. If we tried to go out one of the other access points in the neighborhood, you're more than likely going to end up in a wreck or sitting there for almost as long a time just to wait for traffic to stop to give you the ability to get out. So while living close to the beach might be something on your mind, the reality is we're not going to be able to spend all the time down at the beach every day. We're going to still have to do life, day-to-day activities. And also, if you're looking for something peaceful where you can relax and enjoy, you're not going to want to live there. That's why I share a lot of times, look at some of the different areas, look at places like Carolina Forest, check out places like Longs, South Carolina up on the northern end, or Conway, or some of those spots where you're going to be able to get a little bit more affordable house and you're going to be farther away from all of it. The best part is that you can jump in the car, be to all of the activities, all the tourism stuff within about a 10 to 15 minute drive. My wife and I, we live in Carolina Forest, and during Memorial Day weekend, we wanted to play tourists and go to the water park. So we jumped in the car, put the kids in, we drove over. It was a 10 to 12 minute ride over to Myrtle Waves, went, spend the day, had a lot of fun, ran across the street, grabbed some groceries, some Sam's Club, and went home, made dinner, and we had a peaceful, relaxing evening. So if you're thinking about moving to the area and your goals are set on being close to the beach and you're going to be down there every day from the minute the sun comes up to the minute the sun goes down, you might want to reconsider because you're still going to have to do other things in life, unlike when you're on vacation and have nothing but a care in the world to just sit there and relax and enjoy life. All right, the second thing on the list that you really want to take into consideration when you're planning that move to the beach is just the amount of tourism that is here. Myrtle Beach is a tourist town. There's no other way to put it. Everything here about this area screams tourism. And so when you live in a tourist town, you're going to have to deal with tourists. That means millions and millions of tourism people in town each and every year. That means that when you try to go to some of those popular restaurants in the height of the season, you're going to wait 2 to 3 hours sometimes just to get a table to sit down and eat. We're coming into the summertime right now here in Myrtle Beach when I'm shooting this video, and tourism, it's starting to really ramp up. Memorial Day weekend has just happened, and we are truly into tourism. Schools get out in just a few days here, and as that takes place, the amount of people in town are going to go up almost exponentially. So what does that mean? It means longer wait lines when you're going out to restaurants. It means that when you go shopping at some of the big tourism spots like Broadway at the beach or Barefoot Landing, that you're going to have a lot more people to navigate to get around. It means that when you're trying to just do simple day-to-day things and drive from one section of the beach to the other, that traffic can be a little bit crazier. I've said it before, but there are a lot of people who are driving down here and you see them driving down the road and they do what's called a tourism left, where they're in the right lane on a 6-lane highway and there's the Outback, cross left, right across 3 lanes of traffic through the turn lane to get into the Outback Steakhouse. You got to be careful on the roads and make sure you're paying attention everywhere you go. It is super, super important to pay attention, especially during tourism season, because people are here in town that don't know where they're going. Yes, we've got the Wings, the beaches, the Eagles, the Waves, all the different beach stores and all the other tourism things with the tchotchke, collectibles that people are collecting all over the place. But once you live here, once you get settled in, you're going to realize real quickly that you don't want anything to do with that stuff anymore. And so you're going to find the ability to get out of the area, find spots to go and have great dinners where you're not going to wait for hours at a time. I've shared this story before about going to a beach baptism and how it finished. And we were going to go to Carolina Roadhouse for dinner at like 8:30 at night. And it was like a 50-minute wait. We said no thanks. We left and went to another restaurant. Well, you know what? We just had another beach baptism with my church just this past weekend. And when it finished, we didn't think about trying to go to Carolina Roadhouse again. I said to my wife, let's try another local hotspot, which is just 2 minutes away from Carolina Roadhouse. And we went to Berkey's Grill. It's this little burger shop that had a fire. It just recently opened up again, but it is a local haven. It is a spot to go get great food. We went in, we were able to sit down. We got great food, great burgers, ice cream, French fries, the whole thing. The kids had a blast with it. And the best part, we didn't have to wait in line. And even better, it costs much less than going to like a Five Guys or some of the other big burger chains that are out there. It actually was probably cheaper than going to McDonald's to feed our family. And it was fresh, good quality food. So once you live here, you're going to start to learn where are the local hotspots inside the city limits, outside the city limits. And if you're someone like me that lives in Carolina Forest, you have so many options that are all right around you where you never have to deal with tourism. So make sure if you're thinking about moving here that you take all of that into consideration. It's okay to spend 10, 15 minutes to have to drive to get to the tourism stuff as long as you don't have to live in it all the time. All right, the third one on the list, this one might be the most important one on the entire list that we're going to talk about today. And that is that people find a house. They fall in love with this home that they're thinking of moving to the area, and they go online to Zillow or Realtor.com or my website, and they start searching for homes, and they find a home that they just fall in love with. The problem is they're not real familiar with the area. They're not familiar with neighborhoods, and they go want to see this house. Yes, they love the house, but what they don't realize is that it's not near any of the stuff that they want to be around on a regular basis. So, one of the things, and I share this all the time with people on the phone when they reach out to me, which is awesome. If you guys are thinking about moving to the area, I'd love to help you. You can go over to jeremyblanton.com, book a call, and we can discuss it. I'll put a link down below to get to there real easy. But people who are moving to the area, they have found that Myrtle Beach is a great option. They have found that it has the lower cost of living. It has the better weather. It has lots of things to do, and it has the ocean nearby. And they're not familiar with the area, so they just do like most, go onto Zillow, go onto Realtor.com, and start doing home searches. They put in their parameters of this is the price point I want to be, and I want 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, and a 2-car garage. And they start finding homes, and they fall in love with it. And they call me and say, Jeremy, we're coming to town next week, and we want to look at this house. We're going to be moving in the next year, but we want to look at this house. And I'll say to them, well, listen, if you're not planning to move right now on this trip, first off, people aren't going to really want you visiting their home. They're not going to want you going in and looking at it because you're not going to be actually purchasing that home. Secondly, what area of the beach is your favorite section to go to? Where do you spend most of your time when you're in the area? And when I start to ask those questions, I usually get the response, oh, we don't know. We haven't really been there yet. But this house just really is checks off all the boxes for us. And I will say, well, do you know that it's near this? Or do you know that it doesn't have this nearby? Or that you're going to run into this? Are you familiar with that area? Oh, gosh, no. And that's when usually the conversation starts of, before picking the neighborhood that you want to buy in, or picking the house specifically, let's go find you a neighborhood. Finding a house in our area, it's not going to be difficult. We have a lot of developments that are being built, a lot of new construction coming out of the ground on a somewhat regular basis. So there's definitely always a lot of options that are out there. The key is to first find the area that fits your likes and needs. Now, you might be saying, well, Jeremy, what's the best area to live in? That, my friends, is all based on your opinion, not mine, not what someone else says. I've shared this story before of my clients, Jim and Tanya, that were moving to the area. They were coming down on vacation, drove into the area, and they stopped up on the northern end to get some food. And they went into this pizza joint, ordered some food, and while they were there ordering the food, they asked their server, well, where's the best place to live? And the server said, of course, Little River. It's the best place. And a nice couple sitting next to him chimed in, oh, you want to live in Little River area. Now, Jim and Tanya originally were coming down to meet me and check out the Carolina Forest area because they had seen some of my videos on it and thought this kind of fits what we're looking for. So they then continued to ask them, well, what do you guys think of Carolina Forest? Oh, no, you don't want to live there. That area is so much traffic. And so they rode off checking out Carolina Forest based on it, went visited a subdivision up on the northern end, found the house that they wanted being built there, and said, this is where we want to be. Well, long story short, we couldn't get the house in time. There was going to be building it, and they still didn't have it secured and never really knew if they could actually get it. After begging them to go down to Carolina Forest and see the exact home that they were looking for, the exact model, with probably 95% of the options they were selecting in it, they said, fine, came down, visited it. Nevertheless, they were in that house for less than 2 minutes where they looked at each other and said, this is the house for us, bought the home. When I went back to visit them a few weeks later, they thanked me over and over for telling them to come check out Carolina Forest, and that they absolutely were so much happier being where they ended up purchasing in Carolina Forest versus the northern end of the beach. And so they were making that decision based on the opinions of someone else. You could go ask 20 people around our area, where should I live? And all 20 of them are going to give you their opinion based on their personal preferences. So what I always suggest is let's meet up when you first get to town, and then let you go out, visit the different sections, figure out what section you want to find that fits your needs and that you love. And then once we have that done, then we'll go find you the house, because I can find you a home. Finding the home is easy once we know where you want to live. So don't fall in love with just a house. Make sure you spend time figuring out the neighborhood, surroundings around it. If you're someone like me, I have 2 dogs, so I want to have a veterinary hospital that's somewhat nearby. That's an important thing to me. Maybe to you it's medical, so you want to be near a hospital within 5 minutes. So you may not want to be up on the northern end of the beach if Grand Strand Regional is going to be your main medical place. There's a lot of different factors that people don't normally think about, but hopefully after seeing this, you're going to remember, let's go find the area first, then the house, and not regret where you end up picking to move. All right, the next thing on the list, that this is one that people don't always take into consideration, and that is that here in our area, we do sometimes have severe weather. Yes, those big things, the big circular things you hear about out in the ocean, hurricanes. Hurricanes can come to our area and we can have them. Some people freak out. They get very scared about them and don't know what to do. One of the things that I would recommend before you ever consider making a move to the area is do a little bit of research, understand hurricanes, understand how that severe weather works. And not only that, but also having an agent on your side that's going to be able to help you prepare is going to be critical. Why is that? Well, our area is known as the Low Country. Where my office sits, where I'm shooting this video right now today, is about 30 feet above sea level. That doesn't seem like much to a lot of you guys out there, but here in our area, this is one of the higher sections of the beach. When you live near the coast, you're basically at ground zero and slightly above it. So there are some parts of our area that also are prone to flooding. So it's very important that you have an agent on your side that's able to help direct you and guide you through those selections so that you do not purchase a home that is in a flood zone. Because the worst thing would be is to purchase a brand new home, move down here to the beach, and within a few weeks of being here, a severe storm comes through, floods your house, puts 6 feet of water inside it. So figuring that stuff out is definitely something to take into consideration when making that move to the area. The other thing is, I will say this regarding hurricanes. A lot of people, when they move here, they don't know, they've never experienced them. But from a perspective of someone like myself, who's now lived in this area for over 30 years, it's not that huge of a deal. We deal with them on a regular basis. I live a couple miles inland from the ocean, so I'm not worried about flooding in my subdivision. I'm not worried about, necessarily trees flying through my windows or falling on my house and those things, because they're not removed, which is another thing you guys got to take into consideration. A lot of people are used to living up in the Northeast where you have big shade trees to protect your house and give you privacy and all of that shade and just that look and feel that a lot of people are used to. Well, down here with severe weather, with storms, with high winds, you don't want the big tall trees near your house. Why? If they're near your house, they're going to be on your house during those strong storms. So that's why a lot of your developers go in and clear cut, remove them out of the way. It gets it where you're safer when you move into your home. Now, in our area, you're also going to have protection that is given to you in your house when you purchase a new construction home. Most people, though, that live several miles inland like myself, we never even bother with the hurricane protection. When you actually do it, you can void warranties on your house. You can void the warranty on your siding or your windows when you screw into that vinyl siding a board to protect your windows. Really and truly, guys, it's not that big of a deal. It's not that much to worry about. I kind of liken it a lot to winter snowstorms that I had when I lived up northeast. We usually knew ahead of time they were coming within the next week or two, and that if it was something bad, we had time to prepare, get extra food, bread and milk, all that fun stuff, and have everything ready to go for extra protection. Same thing happens down here. The hurricane's usually coming. You go buy your extra bottled water. You buy some extra food and supplies. You fill up your gas tanks. If you have a generator, get that thing ready to go. And you're prepared then when that storm comes in. Because if a storm rolls through, you could lose power for a couple days with it. But really and truly at the end of the day, it's not that huge of a deal. So make sure before you go and pick where you're going to buy that house that you take some consideration into the hurricanes and severe weather that we might experience here in our area. All right, and the last thing on our list today that I want to share with you is that our area is not really very compact. Everything is kind of spread out, but it's not spread out to the point where you're spending hours to drive from one place to another. But I get a lot of people who are planning to move to our area and they want to be in a spot, in a section of the beach where they can walk to everything or ride their bikes. And unfortunately, that just isn't the case here. Yes, our area has become a little bit more bike friendly, walker friendly over the last few years, but at the same time, there is a safety issue that goes into it because, like I mentioned, there are a lot of tourists on the road that don't know where they're going, and unfortunately, that does lead to more accidents. But the reality is that if you have your vehicle here, you can normally get to any and everything you're wanting to do within a 10 to 15 minute drive at most. Even if you have that house out in Conway. One of the developments I talk about a lot on this channel lately is the community Auberon Woods. It's a neighborhood that is out in a Conway address, but within 15 minutes you can be over to the Arcadian North Myrtle Beach section of the area and get to everything you need to do right there in that spot. So it's a little bit farther out, but you're definitely not going to be riding your bicycle to it. Not to mention, it'd be highways that you can't ride bicycles on anyway. But our area, it's not super compact. There's also not public transportation to get around. So you're going to be relying then on either taxi cabs, Ubers or Lyfts or things like that if you don't have your car, and it can get a little bit expensive. So make sure you take into consideration when you're picking where you're going to move, what stuff is around it. This once again goes back to that comment that I was talking about a few minutes ago about the location and figuring out the area and what's nearby. One of the things I tell people all the time to do is we all have these things, a smartphone right here, right? You can just ask it, hey, and I'm not going to say that word because then it sets it all off. But hey, can you show me grocery stores nearby? Show me, restaurants that are nearby. Show me how close am I to the closest Kroger, or to a veterinary hospital, or to a regular hospital, or whatever it is you need for day to day, right on that phone. But check those things out before you select your neighborhood or you select your house so that you know what to expect when living here. Because the goal is not to just move here for a couple months and then have to find something out. I want you to make the right decision from the beginning. That way you're making the best decision and the best use of your money. We've worked hard to make it. Let's not waste it all buying a house that you regret. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video on some things that people regret most about moving to the Myrtle Beach area. As always, if you enjoyed today's video, do me a favor, give it a thumbs up, get the bell on, and subscribe so that you know when we're going live and when the next video posts, and I will catch y'all on the next one. See ya.